Are you familiar with FBI Special Agents Kyle Seraphin?
I'm familiar with the name.
Is that yes?
I'm familiar with the name. Familiar with the name. Familiar with the name.
Let's bring in Kyle Seraphin. He's the FBI whistleblower who helped expose government censorship of our First Amendment rights.
Now, we only have this memo because a recently suspended FBI agent called Kyle Seraphin brought it to the public. We're grateful that he did. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
He's the host of something that strangely is called the Kyle Seraphin Show.
Kyle Seraphin, I can't thank you enough for speaking out. I knew you guys were out there, and I knew it was just a matter of time, but you got a lot of guts putting your face and your name to this. You're doing a service on behalf of the American people, and from the bottom of my cracked and broken heart sometimes, thank you very much.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Friday. It's December the 20th, and we are rolling live under the wrong title again because the people over at Restream, man, I cannot tell you how much I hate these people right now. We had to go back to them because it's the only thing that does the job. But why would you take a product and break it? This seems really ubiquitous in my life right now. It's like, hey, did you want to put your money into a bank where you could take it out again? And you're like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Can I just have you hold on to it and pay me a small amount of interest and whatever, and you can loan it out? And they're like, yeah, no problem. By the way, but then we're going to tell you how to use your money and whether or not we'll give it back to you. And you're like, no, that's retarded. I'm not going to work with you anymore. Same story with our streaming software. All right, we're going to get into it because I'm here for the rage today. I'm here for the meltdown that is happening on the left, on the right. If everybody's pissed, I guess that makes me happy. This has been my experience. When I was at the FBI Academy at Quantico, everybody got sprayed with pepper spray one time. It was my happiest day in 5 months because everybody had tears and they were like choking and they were miserable. And I was like, look how miserable everybody is. I feel great. I feel good. Government might shut down. That's what we're going to get into. We're going to bring on Steve Friend to talk about it. I have to actually add Steve Friend because I didn't do that. Before we get started, let's go ahead and say thanks to the sponsors who keep the program running and kind of keep my head straight here before we get deep into the weeds. How about Blackout Coffee, folks? Here it is. Let me tell you about a company that is shaking up the coffee world. It is Blackout Coffee. It's not your typical run-of-the-mill brew from a corporate giant that doesn't share your values. Blackout Coffee is bold, unapologetic, truly America first. Maybe they're excited about the shutdown too. This month, Blackout Coffee is making it easier than ever to give the gift of amazing coffee, cocoa, tea, and more. Whatever you're into drinking, that's right. Blackout Coffee is running sales all month long. My promo code KYLE will save you 20%. Last we checked, whether it's a bag of premium roasted coffee or delicious hot cocoa, a box of specialty teas, you can find something perfect for everybody on your list. It's probably a little bit too late to get it there for Christmas because the government does run the postal service, but you can still get it there and give them a little note saying you didn't forget about them. Let's not forget about the gear either. They've got mugs and shirts and more, and they are designed to make a statement because enjoying great coffee should look as good as it tastes. Don't wait. Head over to blackoutcoffee.com/Kyle. Again, blackoutcoffee.com/Kyle right now. Stock up for the holidays. Grab the gifts. Stock up for the new year as you're going in. Get a gift that people will actually use. Support a company that stands for what you believe in, serves up quality that you can taste. It's blackoutcoffee.com/Kyle. Blackoutcoffee.com/Kyle. Let's do this. All right, folks, so we're going to get into it here. Let me see if I can add Steve Friend to our scene. I forgot to do this beforehand because I was getting so excited about all of the goofy videos that we are going to get into, and we've got several of them, and I think I've got him ready to go right now. Is that Steve Friend right there?
Present and accounted for. Here I am. What do you think the Kamala Harris Venn diagram overlapping of agents who were crying like little women about being pepper sprayed versus those that are scared and are going to have to go to soup kitchens for a temporary government shutdown?
They did have to do that. Do you want to tell the story? Even though it's my story, it's like funnier when someone else says it. You tell the story.
Well, I mean, I have direct reporting from people who know. Suspendables have told me, people have been saying that apparently there was a soup kitchen established during the temporary partial government shutdown from a few years ago, during which the government shut down. We had enough funding to get paid, so we got paid. Then we missed one paycheck, and then it was resolved before the next paycheck. So it was maybe a 6-day delay of one paycheck.
And it was this exact time of year in 2019. So 5 years ago, almost to the date, this is the case. What happened was a similar failure. They moved it into sequestration. I love how there's always these like where they're like, you're going to get furloughed, you're going to get sequestered, you're going to get shut down, you're going to non-essential people. This is the question that most people in the public don't understand. There are non-essential employees in the federal government.
People need jobs.
Tell me what a non-essential employee, what is that?
I think it's probably someone who has a space heater under their desk in August.
You're going to go with my definition? It's good.
I mean, it's for all seriousness, it's most of the government. People need jobs, and they just go in there and shuffle papers from one side to another. They create their own little separate fiefdoms, which is with the nature of bureaucracy. Success is in growing the actual agency. And now we're to the tune of we're spending an extra $1 trillion beyond what we're bringing in every 100 days. I think there's a lot of non-essential things. There's actually some essential things we're probably going to have to do away with just to get our belts tighter.
Yes, I think that is actually true. Yeah, so if you're a conservative, you're not mad about any time the government shuts down because what you want to do is see less of it. There are some specific things that Congress is required to do, and they sort of don't care about them. I had somebody, there's like these unpopular takes going around right now. Michael Knowles is one of them. Bill Shipley is one of them. Cernovich is one of them. Mike Cernovich. Who else is out there? Kurt Schlickler, I think, is also talking about it. And they're like, look, if you're going to be honest, they haven't gotten a cost of living adjustment. They haven't gotten paid more since 2009. So Congress really is kind of like operating under some old school numbers. And I say, okay, fine, fair enough. But let's be really clear. Congress is supposed to be a part-time job. That's why there are a thing called recesses. You're not supposed to just have that be your full-time gig. And so the people that are supposed to be in Congress historically were wealthy enough to be able to take time away from their business that still generated money. They went and did the thing, and then they went back in and checked on, hey, how are the people that are minding my business doing? Because I don't require money from the government to do the job. It's a service.
It doesn't sound very populist to say, like, we have to have an egalitarian system of government where rich people who can afford to go in for a low-paying job to govern. People don't like that. It doesn't sound well.
Except they love Donald Trump. They freaking love that Donald Trump doesn't take a salary. This is
the most
thing that
populist thing ever is to elect a billionaire.
How do people justify? This is why I just sort of laugh when everybody is mad. They're always mad at somebody. My favorite are the people that don't know anything at all. They've never had a thought that was like, okay, is that a conflicting thought from what I said previously? People are mad at Chip Roy for doing things that are essentially fundamentally conservative. They want to go after, they're totally okay with a Joni Ernst. Don't want to like declare publicly that they're going to primary them. And then Donald Trump goes out and says he wants to primary Chip Roy of all the people that they're mad at, or a Tom Massey for F's sake. It's so wild to watch this. And then you've got guys like Cat Turd, who is the weirdest looking human being, who is I've had to block him or like mute him out because I just don't want to see what he has to say because I don't want to be dumber for having read all of his useless takes. And does he do some funny things? Yeah, he's like a troll account. That's what he did. He's a troll account that has millions of people that have actually accepted that he's some sort of a thought leader. If you guys don't know who I'm talking about, this is like social media drama, but it's like played out in real life because these people actually have like an ability to influence public opinion, which does change it changes X, which means it changes Elon Musk, which means it might be going into policy, which is pretty wild.
$174,000 a year sounds like a lot, but the actual unpopular take is if you're having to manage two households because you're living apart from your family, you have to live in a high cost of living area like Washington, D.C. And because let's say you're the man and the husband and the breadwinner, your wife's home with, let's say, the Seraphin household with 4 children, and she can't have a job because she has to take care of those kids full time, then that's a really cost intensive thing. So, I mean, it's not popular to say that $174,000.
I don't disagree with any of that, by the way. I don't disagree with any of that. Essentially, that $175,000 sort of offsets the cost of having a secondary home, so you can come in there because it's expensive in DC.
You could live in the office. I think some of them do that.
Some of them do.
Not optimal, but you could do that. And I'm for let's make it $1 million salary. Let's pay $535 million out in salary to senators and congressmen every single year on the condition that there's no foreign aid. It's a small thing that people get fired up about the salary, but in the overall scheme of things.
Steve, that immediately became a meme of the superhero choosing between the two red buttons. It's like pay myself $1 million.
I just saved you billions.
Throw billions of dollars into slush funds overseas. Okay, let me change gears on you because I you don't know this story apparently, which is even more fun. If you listened to the call-in show last night, which was a couple of you, but certainly not all of you, this happened. I want you to watch it. I want your reaction. What is your next move if you see this on the Steve Friend household Ring camera? The audio listeners, I'm going to trim most of this out because it's basically not going to be useful. But what you're seeing is a man in a white helmet walking up to a door with a crossbow and a pistol. I'm going to just confirm what these things are, lest you ask the question. What's your next move, Steve Friend? Here we go.
Yo, Nick.
Okay, he's going to bang on the door. Here's how he walked up. So this is what the original cam show you. This is your alert on your phone as you're sitting in your house. All right, there's much more of that. Okay, so it's just it's like 60 plus seconds. Helmet, a motorcycle helmet. Guy drove up supposedly in a car, by the way. Puts down his crossbow, which was cross-slung across his body, and then pulls out what is either what people have speculated is a tranquilizer gun, but is actually most likely like a Ruger 22 pistol. There's a couple different varieties of it in the Mark series 1 through 4. So something to that effect. Go. What do you got?
Well, number one, you respond to every emergency. You got to panic, right? Then
Yes.
you rely on the fact that you've planned this all out, and I release the hounds, and then also tell the kids to go get their short barrel rifles and post up where they need to in their predetermined locations. And it's time to go homestead style, right? And then I'll be calling in the Spectre gunship for a sortie pretty shortly after. I've got some connections. I think I could probably get that done.
Are you double tapping through the glass on that guy?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Me too.
There's no. What are you going to? I mean, are you going to sit behind your door and call the police because the police are minutes away when seconds count, or are you just sending rounds?
I'm putting it through that guy, especially if I can see where he's at. I'm probably going to get close enough, but I can actually get my dot on him from very
like Home
near.
Alone style. You're going to come out through the dog door.
To be fair, I might even just break my own glass and rake it with the barrel and send it because I think that would surprise him enough. Okay, do you know who that is and what's going on there?
No, I've never seen this. Is
that
it like
is
a buddy who just
Fuentes' front door. That is Ring camera from Nick Fuentes, the internet troll's front door. And that guy, who looks weird as all get out, killed 3 people before he went there. Also, apparently 2 dogs. Then drove over to the house wearing a motorcycle helmet, carrying what looks like a 22 pistol, and went to go after Nick Fuentes. He called the police because he was on at home streaming. He was doing the thing that he makes a living doing. And the cops came. That guy threw gunshot rounds over his shoulder at the cops and was put down and is dead. Would you have guessed any of those facts with just watching that video?
How have I not seen this story? I mean,
It's like 18 hours old, so it's pretty fresh.
This is insane. Like yet again, this is like the guy walking barefoot to Damascus type of story.
Yeah.
I mean, people are just looking up too much in drones.
I inform you in ways that you are not ready to be informed yet. And the audience, I feel like, sometimes gets the same experience. So you are every member of the Seraphin Show audience that is not like glued to X like I am.
And that's what I dig about you, sir. Catch me off guard and make sure that I need to upgrade my home security. I mean, my son asked me last night when we went to bed, he's like, he'd been watching some like spooky video and he was kind of like concerned. And he was like, well, what if someone gets in the house? I was like, well, you know that I do perimeter checks throughout the night, right? And I was not even close to kidding. And he was like, oh, okay, it's fine. I was like, yeah, why do you think that my AR is against the door?
Mine's actually hanging up in a little cradle. It's got like 2 little hooks that are on the wall. It's out of the reach of the kids, and they're not really interested anyway. Apparently, the other day I left one of my pistols. Where did I leave it? It was somewhere. It was like near the couch or something like that. And it's in a holster and it's put away. But what my oldest came and was like, "Hey mom, Dad's handgun is here." I must have taken it off while I was sitting and watching TV the night before, and then I went to bed and it was in the dark. And so she's like, "Hey, my Dad's gun is over here." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So they went and they brought it to me.
Bodie didn't just render it safe and then hand it over to you?
Yeah, he's going to be there. Actually, that's going to be my goal for the Christmas kind of break. As soon as we get the truck in, I think I'm going to take my dad to the range and have a 3-generation Seraphin man shooting situation. Put him on the drum-fed, suppressed 22 semi-automatic death machine, and let him just like rip rounds until his face is just nothing but a permanent smile.
YouTube shorts are incoming. It's gonna be great.
Shot from behind only. You can't see my kid's face. I'm not doing that to my kids. I'm not willing to like sell them out. That would be like the online whore thing to do. Okay, let's get into a really important story that is breaking right now. I went to NBC. Is this NBC or MSNBC? It's MSNBC. So it's important. Josh Howley and John Kennedy derailed a Senate hearing that was supposed to be talking about an important subject, sports betting. Apparently, that's an important subject now to the political left. And they did it by being very, very mean, and they exposed their anti-trans bigotry. Steve Friend, I will not leave you without a clip. This is Josh Howley being apparently a bigot. Ready, go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Baker, if I could just start with you. I confess I didn't understand your answer to Senator Kennedy's question about the safety of women in the sports of the NCAA overseas. Did you say the federal law requires the NCAA to permit biological men to play in women's sports?
No, I said there have been 5 cases in federal court in the past 18 months. And
okay, because I thought you told him that
federal judges sided with
the
participation.
reason the NCAA couldn't take a position on this, in fact, you have taken a position on it, you're affirmatively permitting biological men in women's sports, but you said to him it's because of federal law. There's no federal law that requires it, right? The relevant federal law is Title IX, is it not? You're familiar with Title IX.
If guidance on this issue from Title IX or guidance with respect to discrimination law would be
Title
important.
IX is already the law. Title IX says
federal judges have ruled on
20 U.S.C. Section 1681A. By the way, let's just dispense with that canard. No federal court has ordered the NCAA to include biological men in women's sports, right?
Actually,
there's not a single case that has ordered the NCAA to do so, correct?
That's pretty much what they decided in the San
No, don't
Jose
say pretty
case.
much. We're talking about the law here.
Yes,
I know. And you actively dissembled to Senator Kennedy just a second ago. It's not true that the NCAA has been ordered by any court, number one. It's not true that federal law requires you to include biological males. In fact, Title IX explicitly says, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be denied the benefits of any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. You are in court at this moment arguing that Title IX doesn't apply to the NCAA, which is astounding to me, given the amount of money, federal money, the NCAA gets. But let me just ask you this.
Senator,
a total of 5 teams, 5 women's volleyball teams, Wyoming, Southern Utah, Utah State, Nevada, and Boise State all had to forfeit 7 games in their conference play, NCAA conference play this past year, women's teams, because a biological male, under your rules, was playing on a rival's team.
The end. Is that? I mean, how do we deal with this kind of bigotry in the Senate like that?
If Josh Hawley wasn't on our ideological side for the most part, you could see how the other side hates him so much because he's so pedantic.
I really like
condescending.
his voice, though.
The optics too of that, where he's crisp with his language, he never stumbles over a word. He's like George Carlin was when he was on stage. Never ever was fumbling for a single syllable. And the contrast where the NCAA representative is sitting there with like his hand like leaned over, like he's bored with the entire proceeding. It's a bad look. But I'm also so sick of this subject. I can't get excited about it. Look, it ultimately comes down.
Why is this?
It comes down to a bunch of dads saying, you're not putting that thing out there with my daughter. No, it's not happening. And it's going to take some of the adult women who are too old for their daddies to come and help them to say, I'm not getting into the ring with that. And when that happens, this entire thing is over. And I even take umbrage with the term biological man. Why are we wasting syllables on that? Dude who feels pretty. Sounds better. We should go with that.
Dude looks like a lady. Well, Let's talk about some of the things, because this is not the only bigotry. So they talked about Howley. They talked about John Kennedy. John Kennedy comes from Louisiana. Louisiana is doing some interesting things. They are also bigoted. I had to go into NPR because today is Friday, and for some reason, I like to just catch up on what's happening with NPR. So I got a couple of stories. This one's really good. If you want to win a spot on my show, put your lead photograph two homosexual men, one of whom is wearing a T-shirt that says "Gay AF," and you will get a spot. Right there. Steve, your audio is still live here. Louisiana is forbidding public healthcare workers from promoting COVID, flu, and Mpox shots. They can't do it. They're not. And this is a scathing rebuke of the policies of the state of Louisiana. A group of high-level managers at the Louisiana Department of Health walked into a November 14th meeting in Baton Rouge, and they expected to talk about outreach and community events. But instead, they were told by the assistant secretary in the department and another official who will not be named because they are like Voldemort, that the leadership has a new policy. Advertising or otherwise promoted the COVID-19, the influenza, or the Mpox vaccines. Mpox is the slang term for monkeypox, which is transmitted by basically only homosexual men, genital to genital, and also apparently sometimes to their dogs. If you read the story that we've covered a while ago in France, I think it was a greyhound. Yuck. 2 gas pedals, no brakes, people. The established practice that many other public health entities in the United States do, they must stop it. No more are they allowed to advertise for it, probably because people in Louisiana don't want their money wasted on that. The new policy implemented has some politicians afraid that they are promoting a false information about vaccines, just as Donald Trump and the anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Kennedy begin the next term trying to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Steve Friend, we cannot talk about the Mpox with public money anymore in Louisiana. How outraged are you?
I'm relieved, because you contrast that with the fact that the FBI hosted Dimitri Daskalakis at its Pride event and gave him an award. Dimitri, for those who don't remember or recall, is an avowed Satanist and also was the monkeypox czar for the Biden administration. And there's lots of pictures of him wearing his leather chaps in magazines. And he was honored from that post. So that's the FBI, which you give $12 billion a year to. So good on Louisiana for pushing back against this. I love how...
No, would you say that Dimitri, what's his name, Kakalakis?
Daskalakis.
Kakalakis. Dimitri Kakalakis also is gay AF.
As was his successor in that position the following year, the Admiral Dick Levine.
Also gay AF. Yeah.
And sent his mother home.
And not a guy who could claim to be pretty. He can't. So this is the reason why they use the term biological male, because some of the biological male creatures look like Dick Levine, who is objectively not pretty, even to Dick Levine. On his best day.
Look, Liz Cheney would be offended by that remark.
Liz Cheney kind of resembles.
And now that I've said it, you can't unsee it.
Did you do that on purpose to me?
Yes.
Shame on you. I dislike that. I dislike that you did that to me. I don't want that anymore. The holidays are a hard time for everybody. A lot of family situations going down. A lot of sort of people getting upset about it. We're going to cover what you can do if there is a they, them in your life that is confused and struggling. Before we do, let's talk about someone who is not a they, them. They are the Patriot Cooler people. And if you guys want to get hooked up right now with a Patriot Cooler, like you see, if you wait, Steve Friend will drink his at some point during the show. I saw it already on the off stage. This is my engraved 16-ounce white coffee mug with Suspendables merch stuff on it. It's patriotcoolers.com. If you guys want an extra 5% off, use promo code Kyle15. We don't always do that, but for right now, up until the end of December 26th, which is Boxing Day, which is a Canadian holiday, right before we take them over as the 51st state, you guys can also get a Boxing Day deal. Go ahead and go to patriotcoolers.com, promo code KYLE15, Kyle15 to save 15% off. It's their second best sale of the year. You already missed the first one. You guys got a second chance at it. It's only going to be pennies that you're going to save in the difference. So check them out over at patriotcoolers.com. I got another one here too. There it is. And like I said, Steve will probably have it. I'm surrounded by Patriot Coolers. There's a couple of them over my shoulder. Oh, shoot. Someone stole one. I need to put one of my Patriot Coolers back up there. Watch this. There we go. And we'll just put it right there on the shelf. Now we have 2 Patriot Coolers on the wall because That one actually has water in it. I'm going to have to take it. Hopefully it doesn't break my shelf. Okay, folks, check them out if you have not done so already. They're our favorites. They've been around for a really long time. Time around the holidays, it's tough. If you have a they, them in your life that needs some help, you can always go to what is this thing called? It is the crisis. It's the LGBTQIA plus crisis hotline to get a counselor. It is called I think it's called like the Rainbow Youth Project. If you want to radicalize your kid to hate you, you may be in the same situation. This is ABC News. This is coming from a mainstream outlet. I got to read the story just for Steve because it's too funny for me not to. Just a few days before the 2024 presidential election, Carolyn Fisher and her husband listened to their 16-year-old non-binary child announce, quote, "I want to die, mama." So I assume that the non-binary child is a female based on using the term mama at the age of 16. That's my guess. I'm just going to try to read through this. Their child, cell phone in hand, was on a call with the LGBTQ crisis hotline counselor, tears in his eyes. I think they're using the wrong gender there. How do they decide? They're non-binary. Fisher's child explained while his parents listened that he had joined an online group of LGBTQ kids planning to die by suicide if former President Donald Trump won the election. That's really troubling. Why do kids who are 16 care about this? The Trump campaign said that they would end left-wing gender insanity. Probably a good plan. Kind of relates to what was being discussed by Josh Howley. The mom said she felt like she was a bad mom because I was one of those people. She said they were laughing at a pro-Trump television ad that claimed Kamala Harris is for they, them. Trump is for you. She recalls looking at her child who walked out of the room in tears when that happened. Steve Fred, how do you deal with the they, thems in your life?
I can't deal with the they, thems. I'm too preoccupied with the worst people on earth. And that's the white liberal women who live in the suburbs who convince their children that they're not binary in gender, that they can be fluid, and then put them on the phone. Seems like there could be some interstate communications going on where you're radicalizing children into beliefs that are just fundamentally untrue and bad for their mental health, and it's going to result in their increased levels of suicidality. And then on top of that, on top of convincing them that they should probably chop off their genitals so that you can sip mimosas and impress your friends one time on Sunday, you are convincing them that the outcome of a presidential election, which they have no skin in at all because they're 16, is going to directly impact their lives. Again, the worst people on earth are the Karens in the suburbs with the Subarus that have the coexist bumper stickers, they have the cul-de-sac, and they just will do whatever they want, the worst things possible to their children. For what? So that they can have this article written about them? Is she going to put this up on the wall and say, look, I'm such a good person?
It's Carolyn, not Carol. Carolyn.
One communist for another.
Isn't that the best? Okay, so here's the thing. The reason that I clicked on this article in the first place is because it says some people are not getting invited to Christmas because of LGBTQIA plus two-spirit issues. And I went, oh, are the mean MAGAs not inviting people because they're gay? Is that what is happening? Is that what? Because that would actually be kind of shocking to me. An intolerant group of people that said, I don't like who you sleep with or what you espouse, and you're kind of annoying, so I'm not going to invite you to Christmas dinner. That's what I thought the article was going to be about. Fisher, the woman with the so-called non-binary child, says she's been criticized by family members who have said that she's letting her child dictate who she's inviting or not inviting because she's disinvited members of her family that don't agree with the choice to have a 16-year-old confuse themselves with gender ideology.
They wrote a puff piece where she's the bad guy, and they still wrote it? That's great.
And they made her the good guy. She has a strict guest list for the holidays. Only those who are supportive of their child's identity are welcome in their home, says Fisher. He deserves that. He deserves not to be ostracized by our family, and that is why we are kicking people from our family out of the holiday list. No Christmas punch for you.
Have a moment of agreement with Carolyn Communist. Mm-hmm. I don't want her at my Christmas party. I don't want people who share her ideology to ruin my family's time around the holiday season. So yeah, you're uninvited from anything that I'm attending. I don't want to have a relationship with you. I'm all in for the balkanization. Unity is not possible. The other side wants to cut off your genitals. The other side says that which not is banned is required, resistance is futile. They want to shoot you in the face. You can't exist with that. You can't have unity with that. And until you recognize it, it's an asymmetrical battle. I accept it. I'm hoping that more people are going to come around to that realization. We have the facts on our side. We're actually the good guys in this one. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it shouldn't offend you to offend Karen communist from the suburbs. Make her hurt her feelings. Sip those tears through your Patriot Cooler.
There it is. I told you guys it would be there. All right. CBS News is letting us know that. So apparently Donald Trump is to blame. I don't know if you know this, but the shutdown, it's Donald Trump's fault. He's a very, very bad man. And
the not president Donald Trump? Yeah.
The not president Donald Trump. What is the actual supposed president doing right now? Let's hit that because it's quite fun and it looks something like this. Biden is likely going to give one last round of student debt forgiveness, aka writing your money away. This is why they ran out of money. Before leaving office, $4.28 billion worth for 55,000 workers. So saith the folks at CBS. The Biden administration is going to cancel student loans for another 55,000 workers through an existing program called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. The Department of Education's announcement Friday targets teachers, nurses, service members, law enforcement officials, and others who reached eligibility through the program. No help to those of us who took out private loans because that's what we thought was responsible and then paid them back, including from our FBI salary while I was at the academy. $4.28 billion in relief. I like relief. Relief kind of sounds different than bribery. He's doing his best to buy off the public. The Education Department loosened the rules for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which previously had a 99% rejection rate amid burdensome rules and widespread confusion. In other words, people couldn't follow the rules, but they should still get the benefits of it, even though that's the rule that is decided by law. Steve Friend, how much money should Biden forgive from your debts?
Oh, I don't have any debts, which is why I told the FBI that they said, you have a really good job here. You sure want to risk it? And I said, recreational law enforcement. I'm here because I actually believed in the mission that you said that you stood for. So 3, 2, 1, I'm debt free. You don't have any sort of leverage on me. I'm not in a position like the other people who have to just follow orders so they can get the golden eagle to crap in their bank account every 2 weeks. Now, this is interesting to me because Biden has been rejected when he's gone to the Supreme Court on this before. And I've used that example when I talk about the Supreme Court saying that there is immunity for presidents who are acting within the confines of their jobs. It's not like, oh, I'm getting a SEAL team to go kill my rival. I have immunity. No, it's if you think you're exercising your ability as the chief executive and the courts then rule it out and say it's unconstitutional, you can't be prosecuted. Well, the courts have said you can't do that, and you're doing it again. That seems like the presidential immunity shouldn't apply it then at that point. You've now violated the precedent that was established. So maybe we'll have a President Kamala in the final couple weeks.
There was a big thing going on last night, and all of the sort of disinformation, misinformation, excited people were talking about how Kamala Harris canceled a trip to California and she was rushing to the White House and there might be something. And then everybody was like, oh, she's about to be 47. We're going to have 48 in January. And there was this excitement about it. And I kind of went like, maybe just breathe. I mean, we'll see. None of our predictions have come out in favor yet. We haven't gotten it right yet on this one. It still wouldn't shock me. I agree with you. It absolutely would not shock me if he decided to be that transitional figure who gives Kamala Harris 15 seconds at the end. That would be the most embarrassing few seconds of being president, to walk into a lame duck period knowing that you will never again be able to run for that and anyone take you seriously because dad had to retire for you to step into the space.
Here, Toots, let me break that glass ceiling for you on my way out.
Yeah, because it's like one more thing. It's like almost a mansplaining version. And it's like, well, she couldn't do it on her own, so we just gave her a little hands on with it. It's like your dad cheating on your behalf when you're playing with the other kids and he kicks the ball into the goal, but he's like holding you or something. I don't know.
It's like a fishing guide who casts the line and then catches the fish and then starts reeling it in, then hands it to you at the last second and says, "Look what you caught."
Yes, I've done that with my very small kids.
Yeah.
Bringing up fishing for no particular reason. Can I just show you something about fishing?
Send it.
Listen, people in Florida, folks, are different. And Steve is in Florida, so I'd like him to translate this. We're probably going to end up cutting this out of the audio show, so if you guys want to see what this is, there is no explanation for this that I've ever been able to figure out, but I've been sitting on this video for a little while, and I haven't had anyone say the word fishing or fish. So here it is. What's going on here, Steve Friend? I need a Florida man translation.
Just like witches and black masses. as construction. The fields, the bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning.
That's enough of that. Can you tell me what's happening there?
So we're chumming the waters there with the speedboat doing burnouts. And then as the fish are jumping out of the water, we're racking rounds and shooting them with an 870 shotgun, which is a tragedy because he could have just used a regular like AR platform and had a lot more ammo and probably taken out a lot more fish.
Well, I don't think he was shooting with slugs. He looked like he was throwing shot at them.
He was throwing bird at him. He's not that
Yeah, they
good.
were splattering. Are those somebody said they're Chinese Asian carp and they're invasive species maybe, and they need to be shot or killed? What's going on there, though? I've never seen a guy decide to shoot fish with a shotgun. That seems decidedly Floridian.
I had a buddy who went down to Australia and he said that they went on a hunt for kangaroos, and that's again like an invasive species. So he was expecting to be handed a rifle, and they just gave him a Louisville Slugger and put him in the back of a pickup truck, and they just went riding in the herds and told him to just start whacking him in the back of the skull. So it's each his own. Each geographical region has its own species and way of bringing them down, and that's how we do things in Florida. When we're not carrying an alligator into a liquor store, we're taking out fish with a firearm.
Fair enough. You said firearm. I'm going to read for Shield Arms. I'm just doing segues off. I'm just doing like Mad Libs off the words that come out of your mouth.
Professional broadcast.
Here we go. Let's talk about this. Folks, if you guys want to check out a last minute gift, or if you want to buy something for someone you love, or maybe you don't get what you want, go to shieldarms.com and check them out. I have a weapon system that is in their paint shop right now. They do custom Cerakoting, which is awesome. They do chops on various different types of Glock handguns. Generally speaking, they go the micro Glock. So if you want to get your 43, your 43X, your 48, you can get them checked out. ShieldArms.com, promo code Kyle will save you 10% site-wide. You can see the video on the screen right now of me using their magazines, which I carry every day. I use their junk sack, which is a very cool looking kind of spin and new take, I guess, on the fanny pack carry, which sometimes is the right move. Secret Service actually carries in a fanny pack pretty regularly when they're doing non-uniformed type stuff. So check them out. Check out a great product from a great company. They're in Big Fork, Montana. They are an American company. They are run by shooters, for shooters. Their sales guys are shooters. They're Green Berets. They are competitive shooters. They're Army veterans from the marksmanship unit and so on. They make an outstanding product. You can check them out. I stand 100% behind them because they're just good people. And if you guys go to shieldarms.com to get kitted out, you'll find little things you like, whether it be like a magazine catch release or a magwell, or you can get the mags, or you can get a full firearm. So anyway, KYLE will save you 10% over there. All right, back to Steve Friend. We got to keep going forward. Should we get to the thing that we've been talking about? Here it is. Look, ready? All the headlines. Blah. There's all the headlines. Congress spending deal was a mess. Trump and Musk response was disastrous. It's always about Trump in this. They can't give any credit to the guy that's actually president. 24 hours exposes a schism between Donald Trump and Johnson, and the government is spent hurtling towards shutdown. We're here for it. The government shutdown could occur on the 21st. Here's what services and payments could be impacted. Shocker, it's not very many things. Like, all the important things are going to stay open, and how Congress is supposed to fund the government, but it never actually does. I got videos, if you want to see it, of some of this sort of talk here. How do we want to break this up? You want to hear the explanation from Mike Lee of what actually happened, why the first CR failed?
Yeah, I have no problem with Mike Lee, especially when he's based, because he's based Mike Lee now.
He's based like me. Okay, well, here he is calling out the people, basically like what they did to kind of screw with the system. And he's on Jesse Waters. I guess this was last night. So here we go.
So you're saying, hold on, just back up. So you're saying these four people, you're saying Jeffries, Johnson,
Schumer, McConnell, Johnson,
McConnell,
and Jeffries, the firm.
Okay,
They did this.
Okay, McConnell and Schumer,
guys.
they cooked this up for the last 85 days in secret, dropped it on everybody Wednesday, and this is where we are.
Yes. And it has failed. It's failed miserably because the American people are awake. They have access to X. They have access to Waters World. They have access to information and to apps that will help them quickly digest this information. This does not work. It's an historic moment. It's fallen apart. And as a result, somebody's going to have to lose their job over this. I don't think the speaker is going to remain in power. That's my prediction. I'm not in the House. If I'm correct in that, and I think I am, we need bold new leadership, outside leadership, and I think it needs to be a Doge speaker. It needs.
Okay, so there's the take. It's got to be a Doge speaker. People are kind of angling. They want to put Elon Musk into a position just to upset people. Well, I think a semi-autistic Speaker of the House would be kind of interesting, and a guy who could not give a flip about most things, but he seems to be really populist. Steve, yesterday I made the point on the program that the ability of AI to digest 1,500 plus pages and actually spit out some meaningful information to people, and the pressure campaign that can be carried out on social media because we know, you and I know personally, that the people that are in office think that Twitter is real life. And we've been told as much. They are very offended by it and when it goes on. We are seeing a new capability of the populist sort of movement to pressure formerly people that were insulated from this kind of stuff because they thought they could just like run it past people. Reflections on that.
I love it. Yes. I mean, there's been this dichotomy of the way that both sides approach their political ends. So the communists have always known that it's a leverage game. And the people on the right have always thought it was an access game. Access. So, and access means not what you think it does. Access means that, oh, I can talk to him. I can get into his ear. He doesn't listen to me. But he comes to my donor conference because I'm a paradigm shifting think tank out there, you know, like a Center for Renewing America, something like that. I don't know, I'm spitballing here. That doesn't mean leverage. And leverage means pain and fear of future pain. And now we have the ability with just a keyboard and access to a social media site where these octogenarians think it's real life to scare them and actually implement change with leverage, with fear of being, I don't know, trolled on X. Like that's an actual thing. It's terrifying that that's true, that these are this 535 people actually believe that that is going to have an impact in the world, but they do. So we'd be foolish to not use that. And at this point, like you said, AI can digest it, tell us where the problems are, and then we can go after them for it. And then they're like, uh-oh, I'm taking incoming fire here, and they can do it for the real reason and the right reason. The right reason is, well, I'm responding to my constituents. The real reason is they just want to get off the X on X.
The fun thing for me, though, is that there's actually some stuff behind it. Yesterday, the argument I made is that people always kind of have this sort of like fallacy. They kind of, you know, single dimension analysis when they talk about the US fiat currency. They're like, there's nothing backing it. It's just hope. It's turtles all the way down. And I'm like, it's aircraft carriers and the projection of force and what at least used to be the strongest military in the history of humanity. So there is something backing it. Right now, there's something backing X. The wealthiest man in the history of humanity is backing it. And he was like, I'll just fund everybody's primary challenger if you guys screw up. And everyone's kind of like, dude, he could actually do that, and it wouldn't even take a dent into his net worth. He could fund every single race enough to win in local congressional races and destroy these people, and they're all kind of stepping in line. That's kind of interesting because Elon Musk tends to be kind of a populist, and he kind of leans towards the way that people are kind of going, we're just sick of this crap. I want to play you another little clip. This is, okay, let's start with Chip Roy, who's taking incoming from Donald Trump, of all people. Because Donald Trump decided that he's the problem. Now, I get that the people are kind of saying that he was a DeSantis guy and then he's a never Trumper. And like, I just don't care. I just want to know what the principles are. I don't care what they like about any given politician. We're going to continue to upset people just a little bit with that. Here's Chip Roy talking about why he thinks it's a problem to extend the debt ceiling. The other problem is words like debt ceiling don't have the same meaning in the federal government as they do in other places where you'd think it's the amount of money you can take out. Because when you decide to cut spending, the federal government looks at that as spending. If you cut taxes, rather, they think of that as spending because they think that your money is their money. This is a fundamental shift in the problem. So Chip Roy's kind of talking about it passionately. He got some people to go ahead and clap it out. He obviously won. His side did. So here he is.
I was just texting with my son back home in Austin, who I haven't seen in quite a long time because I'm here trying to fight for him. When I got through cancer about 12 years ago, I made my promise to my kids that I would do everything I can to save this country. And what we're doing right now is to continue to double down on the things that are destroying the republic. We are going to increase the debt ceiling, not just $4 trillion, that's false. We have spent $4.7 trillion in additional debt in the last 19 months. We're going to increase the debt by $5 trillion. That's what's going to happen right here by Republicans, increasing the debt $5 trillion. And what are you doing in the same bill? $110 billion unpaid for, because you never have any ounce of self-respect to go out and campaign saying you're going to balance the budget, and then you come in here and pass $110 billion unpaid for.
He got claps. There's some more to that. We played a little bit more last night on our call-in program. It's interesting because that is the generally conservative thing to do. And why not a government shutdown under Joe Biden's leadership, even if they want to pin it on Trump?
It's always amazing to me that the government shutdown is just this cudgel that the Republicans are so fearful of, that we can't have that happen because we'll take hits. The elections are over, and you're going to have a whole nother Christmas
and no one will remember
go through before the next one again, right?
Yes,
because
no
they
one
do
will
it every
remember.
single year. And you have Chip Roy and others like him. I saw that there was the 30 some odd people that held the line. They're all generally fiscal conservatives. They recognize what was actually part of this deal. Look, the debt ceiling was the reason that they ran McCarthy out as the speaker. And then all of a sudden, the entire perspective shifted because Donald Trump said that he wanted that. And now that was America first. That was really conservative. No, it's not. The true test of your ideology is whether or not you hold the line on that perspective without any sort of additional information that would change your perspective. But it's just attaching your loyalty to an individual rather than the ideology. And Chip Roy, love him or hate him, he did that. He's been consistent on it. Yes, he backed Ron DeSantis in the primary. And then when Ron DeSantis dropped out, he backed Donald Trump. I don't understand why we have to have this like mutually exclusive thing. Like if you preferred Donald Trump in the primary for the brief time we had it to be the nominee for president, that doesn't mean that Ron DeSantis was a crummy governor. Like, and that's campaign rhetoric, but I deal with it here in Florida all the time. It's crazy to me. Like, he's the most effective executive in my lifetime at a state level. And because he ran for president for like 6 weeks, then he's now a rhino and he's terrible. But meanwhile, we have to back other guys out there who were just Trump all the way, even though they're awful governors, like the guy in South Carolina or North Dakota. Like, they're terrible and their policies are terrible, but you're not judging them on what their policies are. You're judging them on their personality. And that's fundamentally a bad decision when it comes to the future prospects of our country.
It's all tribalism with that kind of stuff. So I've got a couple other little takes. I sort of like, we both met Tim Burchett. You've met him in person a few times, right?
Yes.
And he seems like a nice guy. He walked out and kind of said what his take was. I thought it was pretty good. He's kind of like the most dry, casual. He's exactly like that in real life as he is in the video that you're about to see here, where he's just walking around. He's like, "Hey, girl, like, what's going on? Like, I'm just walking into this room here, and there's some people there, and how you doing? Well, it's good to meet. I really appreciate that you're out there, and I'm gonna go up and give a speech. It's gonna be exactly like this." So he actually does sound like this, even when he talks to his constituents. If he goes out there and there's like 500 people, or if he goes out there and there's like 3 people, he sounds exactly the same. So points for consistency on that as well. But like when Tom Massey puts out something, which is something I saw last night, and he's like, it's really simple. This is all we want. Single issue bills. Allow the American people to see their representatives vote on it. That's not what goes on here. And the behind the scenes thing that you and I have been privy to recently, which I didn't realize, I guess, until previously. They don't ever want to lose, right? You never want to lose on your thing, and we don't ever want to take away a power that we might want to abuse one day. This is the ugliest thing. So here's my reflection for people to walk away with. Everybody kind of talks about this being a game. Somebody was like, "Hey, bro, this shit ain't checkers. This is chess. We're playing chess out there." I'm going to tell you no. What is being played is called tic-tac-toe. You ever play tic-tac-toe with your kids?
All the time.
Tic-tac-toe is a child's game, and it is so it's such a goofy game that tic-tac-toe doesn't actually aspire to win. Your only job in tic-tac-toe is to block the other person from winning, because if played properly, it's always a cat game.
It's why the end of war game is we're going to stop nuclear holocaust and World War III from happening by letting the AI, which is now sentient, play tic-tac-toe and realize the only way to win is not to play that stupid game.
It's tic-tac-toe, people. They all want to just block the other thing. And the only way you ever win tic-tac-toe is if the other team is not paying attention because they're on the phone or they're making dinner and they're like doing something else and distracted, and you accidentally get a win because they do something stupid like run an 81-year-old idiot who is like obviously mentally deficient, and you put him out there as your representative and let him talk. This is the only way. This is tic-tac-toe nonsense. In any case, this is Tim Burchett, as I promised. Here he is kind of taking his take on it and just some of the stuff that was stuck in there.
Hey, everybody, Tim Burchett. Just voted against the CR, and I want to tell you why. It's over $1 trillion, and we never even got to read the dadgum bill. $100 billion in disaster assistance that we're given to this administration to spend in the next 30 days. We don't trust them with 50 cents, much less, hey girl, we don't, 100 billion unchecked again. 5.7 billion in there for submarines. Now you got to ask yourself, what does that have to do with this? Why is it in there? Just a lot of things. I guess it just goes back to actual spending. And then it is a continuation of the Pelosi-Schumer spending levels. Dadgummit, we can do better. This is not the way to run a government. You all elected us to do it differently, and that's what we need to do. thank y'all so much for sending me here.
He shows the press afterwards. There's like 6 people out there that are like standing in the cold, and they're like, and he was like, hey, look at all this press. There's all this press. And he just keeps walking and turns off his phone. In any case, yeah, what do submarines have to do with any of these things? Like, none of these things are conservative principles. So either you send people that are principled or you don't. Either you believe in the person or you believe in the principle. If you're a principled person, you're going to take some incoming. Occasionally, you're going to piss people off. That's why I like Tom Massey.
I mean, that guy's been consistent forever. And he's so, but it's not that hard to predict it. Like, I think you called him Nostradamus.
Yeah, Nostradamus.
Because he just knows that, oh, this is going to happen at the end of the year. And here's my one problem that I do have with him, where he's talking about how they pass these continuing resolutions of the omnibus or whatever term they want to do, and they cram it at the end. They hold the members hostage, and they say, if you want to go home and see your family, I'm sorry. Well, actually, I'm not sorry. You got elected. You don't get to see your family. Go and do the damn job you got elected to do. And if you're unwilling to do that, then you shouldn't be there. And that, in this case, because there was a theoretical mandate, we don't want to spend $7 trillion. There needs to be a realistic conversation and not say, oh, we got to cut the increases in the spending. No, you need to cut it. And it needs to be like a conversation about 90% cuts. Like, can we go back to, I don't know, 1812? Like, and we were fighting a war then, so there was probably some enhanced funding. But maybe 1812 level spending is probably what we need, and just really hold out hope that our oceans prevent an attack.
You're so radicalized. Let me also show you someone who I think is maybe my favorite representative of the left. This is actually not a man, for those of you who are watching. This is a female, a biological female, allegedly. It's very confusing when you look at her because she looks like she could be a Halloween costume. She's a walking Halloween costume. Her name is Rosa Delario, and she represents the area around New Haven in Connecticut. Connecticut used to be a bastion of liberty. It is the place where the American Revolution essentially like was set off and turned into motion, this wild experiment. And now they're electing this, whatever this human being is, who apparently has 3 children. Yes.
3 children, husband, worked for the Clintons.
Okay. She's going to threaten and try to basically poke the ego of Donald Trump by calling Elon Musk the president. This should not move the needle for anyone. All you do is you look at it and you just dismiss them out of hand because this looks like an old man wearing a witch costume. Ready, go.
Read on a bill. They signed it. And you know what? They got scared because President Musk told them, President Musk said, don't do it. Don't do it. Shut the government down. Imagine. What does he know about what people go through is when the government shuts down? Are his employees furloughed? Hell no. Is he furloughed? No. And when you shut the government down, people don't get paid. And maybe if none of us got paid if the government shut down, some people on the other side of the aisle would feel differently about where we're going in this effort. We had an agreement. But you know, this is not different from what we've experienced over the last year and a half or so. Think about it. Biden, McCarthy, deal, come together. Next day, walk away. Johnson, Schumer, deal. Next day, walk away. And now this deal, walk away from it.
Yeah, walk away from it. Okay, bipartisanship means Democrats won and Republicans caved. Go.
That's what it always means. I'm really disturbed by her posture, and you're really getting me over to your side that she's probably not a woman, like because she didn't have the book on top of her head with that posture. If she leans forward anymore, her nose is going to scrape the ground. Just another indication. I
guess I hadn't been. I saw her in a State of the Union, and I was like, "That's not a real person."
She is the construct of the worst person in the world, right? She's the liberal Karen who's worth millions of dollars from Connecticut. And because it's in vogue now to have purple hair and look like you're this woke, I don't know, screaming, cackling beast, then she does that. But I'm sure she comes from Connecticut. She's a wasp like you cannot believe, right?
It weighs
30
on her.
years ago, she was prim and proper, but now that's what we're going to go with. So she's going to do that. And the vocalization about, well, people need jobs and the government has to pay them. No, that's not how it works. If you join government service, you know that your salary is contingent on the budget being passed. You don't go in and like they pull the rug out from underneath you. And on top of that, when they do pass the budget, you get paid. It's not like you don't.
And it's basically going to be an unpaid for now vacation that gets retroactively paid to you. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, this is the biggest national security threat to Americans is people who are federal workers not being able to go for a couple of days without a paycheck. I did it for 14 months. Garrett's been doing it for 28 months. Yes, he had to rely on some charity. So at that point, yeah, at the 2-year mark, you get some charity. In fact, at the 6-month mark, you get some charity. If you can't go for like a couple of weeks without getting your paycheck, you are irresponsible when your paycheck always shows up. And this woman needs like a portrait of Dorian Gray somewhere to be able to cast all the evil that she's been carrying on with her, because it's physically weighing down her frame to the point where she's now like semi-hunchbacked.
She looks like Gargamel, a female Gargamel from Smurfs.
That's exactly what she is. Yeah, and she comes from like a deep Smurf blue area, so this is a perfect reference. Someone actually mentioned the Smurfs, and I was like, yeah, there's something about the Smurf. It's Gargamel. She's a semi-feminine-ish Gargamel. What a weird time to be alive to see this kind of stuff. Anyway, potentially millions of federal workers will be furloughed. Again, they'll get paid at some point. This is not the thing. And then I wanted to see, well, here's the thing. At least the federal government does really good work, right, Steve? I found this story also from NPR. Pretty much incredible. Pretty much amazing. I'm sure this is Donald Trump's fault, too, if I had to get down to it, because it must be. $116 million settlement over rampant sexual abuse by a dude who's running a prison in California. The warden was apparently forcing women to have sexual relations with him. And then, in a completely unbelievable turn in this story, which is actually hard for me to believe, he got the transgender person, man dressed as woman, to touch his pee-pee. And that's also part of the settlement. So all of these inmates are getting roughly $1 million for being in prison. You know, the federal government is the worst system of everything, except when it's the only system, and it's still terrible. Go ahead.
It's never the good option. I mean, it could be the only option, you're right, in some situations, but optimally, under any other circumstances, you never want the government involved in anything. It never does anything well because it's not incentivized to do anything well. It's incentivized to grow itself, because people need jobs, and we got to make sure this program is growing, or we need to start a new initiative or a new plan. I mean, the hundreds of agencies and departments that are out there are just ridiculous. And look, that guy, I guess all incels around the country need to start applying to be wardens at this point, right? Like that's where we're at.
I misspoke. I mean, that was not an NPR story. That was an ABC story that I was quoting from right there.
That's a civil rights violation, right? Like that's an 8th Amendment violation that your government did, and we're just kind of like, yeah, you know, they were sexually assaulting the inmates. Like, I'm not defending
BOP, by the way, is
evildoers, but
yeah, no, Bureau of Prisons is considered to be a essential function of the government because they don't shut down the prisons. So those people have to go back to work. The guy's name was Ray Garcia.
They do send them home though for a chest cold, and then if you stay there long enough, the president just issues clemency to 1,500 because you've been on home confinement that we sent you on.
I've got an article from the AP that I will add to our locals channel. So folks, if you guys want to see the articles backing this stuff up, there's a picture of this guy, Ray Garcia. Not an ugly man. Had better options than this. Sometimes power goes to people's heads. But let's go to someone taking their power back because this is really fun. It's the last story. This is from NPR. Trump's re-election has pushed LGBTQ Minneapolis residents to start doing safety training. What you're seeing there is an organization, which is quite incredible, that is called Security, with the word queer in the middle of the word security. That person's name is Kimmy Hall. I had to dig deep into the archives and find a video of Kimmy Hall talking about what's going on here, and I want you to also be able to enjoy that, as will Steve Friend. He didn't have any context when I played this for the first time. Here's Kimmy Hall talking about safe spaces and whether they exist.
While there are no true safe spaces, Security is committed to helping create safer spaces for everyone.
In this series, we'll be discussing the 6 main points that are essential to creating a safer space for events. We'll be going over footprints, evacuation and emergency plans, and whether you need EMTs on site. Kimmy will cover law enforcement involvement, chain of authority, and volunteers.
Yeah, we work out sometimes.
I don't believe them. And here is some of the training she's doing. She teaches people how to use firearms. Steve, can you diagnose what the photo is that we are seeing here? The diamond hand pointed at, are they doing the Care Bear stare? What is this? What is this thing that is going on the gun range?
They're trying to figure out which eye is their dominant eye. They'll
really?
Bring it back to their face. That's the poor man's test for that. Figure out.
I've always done it with a thumb. What are they doing? Why are they doing it with a
You
diamond
point it
hand?
out and look at a target, and then you bring it to your face. The eye you happen to go to is perceived to be the dominant eye. So
Why
that's
is one
actually a
person?
mechanism.
Yeah, why is one person doing a huge diamond and the other person doing a tiny diamond? Is that representative of some sort of experience?
They are security, so they don't want to be binary in which eye is the dominant eye to shoot from, probably, right?
It's a combination of this or the. Yeah, it's very weird. Okay. Weird, strange, unusual. I don't know what else to say about it. I just
didn't
wanted to cover
appreciate
down
the
on all
man
the-
spreading from Kimmy while she explained how you need to
Kimmy's a woman.
diagnose footprints.
Kimmy is a heavy set, looks like possibly someone we would investigate in a tribal scenario woman, and has objectively tried to make herself not attractive. She also could be a representative from Connecticut. All she needs is hair dye.
About, yeah, I think that's
I like
probably,
when I catch
they probably
Steve
get along really well. I do.
would.
I mean, it does need to be said that they are doing this as a troll because they're like, oh, you really don't want us to have guns. And we were saying like, yeah, we want everyone to have all the guns.
I do want you to get better training than from Kimmy Hall, but yes, but you should definitely go get guns. Okay, how about a win for America? America's sweetheart, Steve Friends, the singer of Steve Friends' favorite Christmas song ever, Mariah Carey, was on Colbert, and I think he referred to her as the Queen of Christmas. And she had offense to that because there is a Queen of Christmas. This is our final thought for the day as we go out. Let's go ahead and have just a redirect that this is actually supposed to be a season about religion, and it's not supposed to be about your sexuality or other nonsense, and it shouldn't be distracted by government shutdowns, which are going to be fine. Here we go.
Because you are you, when you are the Queen of Christmas, I've got a couple
First of all, may I say, I never called myself the Queen of Christmas. Can we please be clear on that?
I never
If
accused you of
others,
that.
you did not. No, you did not, my friend. But
Okay.
others have said, like, the self-proclaimed Queen. I'm like, really? I'm going to do that? They can look up every interview I've ever done, and not to get super religious, but I was like, I think, like, if anybody would be the Queen of Christmas, that would be Mary.
Fact check that.
True. Good for you, Mariah Carey. I mean, maybe I'll listen to like, I don't know, some sort of cover version of that. If like it's by Five Finger Death Punch.
So much rage in your heart. What's coming up on American Radicals? You guys doing that tomorrow?
We are doing American Radicals, 10:30 Eastern time on Rumble, rumble.com/amradpod. Part 2 of our year end. We're going to be doing the middle 4 months of the year. We're just looking at the stories that went by. We had some technical issues, so we couldn't live stream. We had to do the recorded version last Saturday. Hopefully Rumble cooperates with us. So join us 10:30 Eastern time tomorrow. It'll be a fun time. And we're going to look at those stories through the lens of if X had existed or not, would they have been a different impact level? So it'll be good.
Steve, all of our male viewers that are watching this live were just obsessed with the amount of cleavage Mariah Carey was showing, which was significant. Mariah Carey was the fantasy for guys my age when you were 15, 16 years old and you had a pair of rollerblades. So good for Mariah Carey. A Christmas wish. I hope she has a good one. Thanks for joining me today for Friendly Friday. I appreciate seeing you. Thanks for your takes. Thanks for indulging me on some of the silly stuff I wanted to play you.
Hey, I'm always happy to talk about Gargamel. Have a good weekend.
Gargamel going out the door. All right, folks, that's it for the day. Appreciate all of you for joining us for the live program. Thanks for being part of the podcast. I hope you guys will share it. I hope you like it wherever you are watching it. If you're watching over on YouTube now, since we're back there until they cancel us for saying things that are mean about LGBTQIA plusies, share it around. Give it a thumbs up. We appreciate you. Have a great and wonderful weekend. I hope it's full of family. I hope it's full of family that are not they, them confused. God bless you. See you on the other side of the weekend.
Thanks for listening to the Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.